Hello friends, welcome to my YouTube channel Computer Science Classes by Nikhil Srivastava. And in this lecture, we will try to understand what are static member variables of a class. So before trying to understand static member variables, let us try to understand the very need behind creating standard static member variables. Okay, so let me go to my IDE and over here. So I have created a very basic class. This class you have already seen. I have created a student class, and student has a SID, it has a name, and it has marks. These are the overloaded constructors of the student class. Okay, and this is the show student details method. For example, if I create a student object of the student class, suppose I create an object S1, I give it a ID 1, I give it a name, say suppose Nikhil, and then I give it a mark, suppose 91. Okay, I say like this, and then I say s1 dot show student details. I say like this. Okay, so this is my main method, and what will be the output? It is pretty obvious. Return 0. Okay, I write like this, and then I run this application. Okay, clean and build. And now I run this application. See what is output. Yeah. Just to make the output more formatted, I will just insert new line markers over here. Alright. Now I go to clean and build this application, and then I run this application. Alright. Let us this is very simple. I think this is all we have seen till now, so there are no issues with this program. I think I do not even need to explain what is happening over here. It is just outputting the details of the student object. Okay, so let us try, in order to be very clear about it, let us try to understand this with little graphically. We will try to understand this. Suppose this is my memory in which object are created. This is the memory, or you can say this is the RAM. Okay, this is the RAM. Okay, this is the now I have created an object, and this object is the S1 object. Okay, I have created one object. This object is the S1 object. It has the ID 1, and it has the name Nikhil, and it has marks 91. This is the S1 object. Okay, and now I will create another object, and this is, say suppose, the S2 object. So how will I create the S2 object? I will say something like this. Copy, and then suppose this is my S2 object. Suppose his name is Vaibhav, and his marks are, say suppose 85. Okay, and then I call the s2.show details. Okay, so now what is the story till now? The story till now that one more object has been allocated, and this is the S2 object. One more object has been allocated, and this is the S2 object. So how is the S2 object? It is something like this. This is the, you see, this is the S2 object. It has ID 2, it has name as Nitin, and it has marks as 85. This is my S2 object. Okay, so now it is clear. Till now the story is very clear. I think there are no confusions with this. Okay, S2 object. Alright, now I want to have one more information regarding all the students. I want to have information about the class teacher. Okay, so I am going to write string teacher over here, and then I will write something like this, string t, and then I will write teacher equal to t, and then I will write I will just copy it, and then I will paste it. The teacher of the student is teacher. Okay, like this. Now if you observe, suppose all these students belong to the same class. Suppose all these students belong to the same class. So if they belong to the same class, they will have the same class teacher. Suppose I will say something like this. His class teacher, Nikhil's class teacher is also Anita, and Nitin's class teacher is also Anita. Okay. So what will it look like? It will look like something like this. Suppose this is my S1 object. This is my S1 object, and inside the S1 object, he is going to have the class teacher name as Anita, and similarly Nitin also will have the class teacher name as what? It is going to have the class teacher name as Anita. Okay, like this. So so now if you think that if there are 50 students in the class, if there are 50 students in the class, then also they will have the same class teacher name. What will be the name of the class teacher? Suppose it is Anita. Okay. Or for example, I say, suppose I want to have the principal's name, and there in a school, say there are about 3,000 students. I create 3,000 objects, and everyone will have the same principal name, whatever may it be. Okay. So this is not a very good or a very clever design. See, this Anita is common among all the objects of student class. So why don't I do one thing? What do? I do one thing very, very simple. I try to do one thing. I do not place this Anita over here. I do not place this Anita. I do not make Anita belong to every object. I do not make Anita belong to every object. Like this. I remove this. And I do something different. What different do I do? I do something like this. I do something that I make somewhere Anita somewhere outside the place where S1 and S2 are allocated. I will take the brush. And now, yeah, I will allocate Anita somewhere outside S1 and S2, and suppose here it is Anita, and it is shared by S1 also, it is shared by S2 also. Similarly, if there are some other objects of the class, it will be shared by all objects of the class. So Anita is common amongst all objects. Why? Because they are all students object, and all the students have the same class teacher. Okay, so from here comes the concept of static variables. See, instance variables belong to the object. Instance variables belongs to the object. Why instance variable belongs to the object? Because every object will have a different copy of instance variable. For example, this object, S1 object, has an instance variable marks that is different for Nikhil, that is 91, and S1, the S2 object has also an instance variable 85 that is different for Nitin, and that is 85. Okay, so there are instance variable belong to the object, but static variable do not individually belong to object, they belong to the whole class. Okay, so from here comes the concept of static variables. See the first point. What does the first point says? The first point says that static member variables belong to the class, and static member variables are shared amongst all objects of the class. Okay, so now over here in my IDE, I am not going to create this variable like ordinary variable. I am going to make it static. Okay, so once I make it static, it does not belong to any specific object. Every object do not have the different copy of teacher variable will be shared by all objects of the class. Okay, like this. So now this member variable teacher is now a static member variable. Okay, it is a static member variable, and it belongs to every student of the class. Now if you go to this presentation, then you go to the third point. Static member variables are declared in the class and then defined outside the class. Global scope in the format, data type, class name, and then the static variable name. What does this mean? So my dear friends, a class, I already told you, a class is just a logical representation. It does not allocate any memory. Okay, but we saw that static member variables have to be allocated somewhere have to be allocated some memory. Okay, for example, if you see over here, this Anita, this is the class teacher, the name of the class teacher over here. If you go, okay, like here, this variable, this variable Anita, it has to be allocated somewhere. That means I have to declare the static variable outside the class. So over here, when I am just defining the static variable, because a class cannot allocate any memory, but I need to allocate some memory for my static variable. That means I need to define the static variable outside the class in the global scope. So how do I do it? I do it in this format. I do it in this format. I give the data type, I give the class name, and then I give the static variable name, and then I can initialize it also. How? Like this. I go over here. So over here my class is ending. You see, here my class is ending. So outside the class, I will write the data type. What is the data type? The data type is string. What is the name of the class? Student. Then I give the scope resolution operator, then the static variable name, and then I initialize it to, say, suppose Anita. So over here I have, what I have done here, I have defined the static variable. Okay, here I have defined the static variable. Now yeah, so see out the teacher name is teacher. Okay, and then you give a new line marker after that. All right, now if I run this program, what will be the output? I run this program, clean and build. Oh, there are some errors in the program. Okay, yeah. These constructors are taking 3 parameters. Previously, okay, now. Alright, now I clean and build this application. Suppose I run this application. See, the student this student has a SID of 2, it has name web of, it has marks 85, but its class teacher name is Anita. Here also you see the class teacher name is Anita. That means this Anita, the class teacher, is shared among all the students of the class. So it is a static variable of the class. Now I do something very interesting. I create one method, void change teacher. Suppose I want to change the name of the teacher, suppose T, and then I say like this, teacher equal to T. I say like this. Okay, change teacher. I have created one instance method, and that is a change teacher. Now I do something like this. Since s1 change teacher is an instance method, I say s1 dot change teacher, and I change the class teacher to be, suppose, Govind. Suppose now the class teacher is Govind. Okay, what will happen? I will again write this, copy, and I will again write this. Okay, yeah, before writing this I will write something like this, showing s1 details. Okay, and a new line marker, copy, paste, showing s2 details, and then again I will write showing s1 details, and I will paste, I will write showing s2 details. Okay, like this. Now if I run this application, what will be the output? You see, clean and build. And now I run this. Sorry, I opened the debugger, you know, just my mistake. I run this application. What will be the output? You see, initially then teacher name was Anita. Over here also the teacher name is Anita. But then I called what? I did what? I called this instance method change teacher, and what did I did? Change teacher, and I gave the value to be Govind. And then you see for both S1 showing S1 details, the teacher name is Govind, and for S2 also the teacher name is also what? It is Govind. So now you got an idea. The idea is over here, if you go to paint, why this is happening? Because now when you call the change teacher method, the teacher was no longer Anita, the teacher changed to be Govind. So here if I go, the teacher name has changed, and what is the name of my new teacher? It is Govind. So for both S1 and S2, the teacher name is Govind. Okay, like this. Yeah. So so I'm going to pause over here, and in the next video we will continue with the understanding of static member variables. Okay, thank you.